My name is Sean. I'm delighted to join today's ESPC community webinar. Today I'm joined by Rashmi Aklo, MVP, and Varsha Mahesh, who will be covering architecting multi-agent with Copilot Studio. We love hearing you guys say, so join the conversation about today's webinar and more on X. Our handle is at ESPC_community and our hashtag is hashtag ESPC26. Tweet us, tag us, and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which updates the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting espc.tech and clicking the Learning Hub tab at the top. Don't forget to join us for our next webinar, From Content Chaos to Control via Copilot Governance, with Manfred Koch, MVP, and Mihaela Ruxandra Sanku, taking place today, Wednesday, the 13th of May at 2 p.m. CEST. To register, visit Microsoft Copilot Week registration page. Join us at ESPC 26 this November in Amsterdam. The newly announced program features 120 plus sessions across 9 expert-led tracks covering Microsoft 365, Copilot, AI, Power Platform, security, governance, agents, and more, including real-world insights from Microsoft experts and MVPs. Super early bird tickets are available until 26th of May. Use code COPILOTWEEK for additional savings and book using the QR code. Early bird pricing ends Friday the 15th of May. Secure tickets to EPPC 26 and expand your knowledge across Power Apps, Copilot Studio, Copilot AI, Power Automate, Security, and Dynamics 365. Use code COPILOTWEEK for additional savings and scan the QR code to book now. After the webinar, we'll have a questions and answer session. Type any questions you might have into the chat box. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you'll be notified by email when it's available. And now I'm going to hand you over to today's presenters. Hello, thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much, Sean.
Yep.
So, can you see my screen?
Not yet, no.
No. Entire screen.
Yeah, it's loading up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So as Sean says, so today we're going to look at architecting multi-agent solutions with Copilot Studio. Just before we start, I'm going through introductions for myself and Varsha because I'm joined by Varsha today. So I'm Rashmi Okalu. I'm currently working as consultant at Avanade, currently maintainer of PMP PowerShell, and I do a lot of open source contributions. And these are my social handles on LinkedIn, BlueSky, on GitHub. If ever you want to reach out on anything we've covered today or any other contribution, I'm happy to answer any other questions. So Varsha.
Hi everyone, I'm Varsha Mahesh. I'm a consultant at EY. I'm a Power Platform consultant and I've been doing this around 8 years now. And I'm a law code advocate. Apart from this, I'm also a code volunteer, which is like teaching young children coding. So I've started my speaking journey. So I'm not available in other social media platforms, but I'll be soon doing blogging and all. So you can find me on LinkedIn as of now.
Thank you. So today's quick agenda. So we'll go why we need to use the multi-agent and some of the multi-agent architectures that you can think of in terms of sequential, hub and spoke, or parallel. We'll go with loads of demo to show some of the what we meant by different architectures. And Copilot Studio has something quite unique where it has something called the child versus agents and the connected agents compared to other platform like Microsoft Foundry where they have only connected agents. They don't have a concept of child agent. So we're going to go through a little bit more on this one. Yeah, I said loads of demos, and then we'll go through a little bit about the security and governance and finishing up with some key takeaways. So why Copilot Studio? Copilot Studio is a low-code platform allowing makers to build enterprise-grade agents, leveraging a lot of different components through configuring from a user interface. So makers can build like a personalized experience by customizing the instruction, providing like different knowledge sources, which can even be like external knowledge sources through connectors. If you use like the skills as well, it depends a lot um, of power in terms of connecting to external data sources like with Dataverse, or even if you have like a finance application, because for API connectors, you can do quite a lot. You can build autonomous agents, and it all is backed up by the foundation models, which provide like the reasoning, decision-making capabilities. And the orchestrator is like what it does behind the scene based on the user's intent. It will kind of route to the correct component uh, to provide a response. And one of the amazing things which happened, it's very new last year after build announced during build, is the ability of using connected agents within Copilot Studio. And yeah, and then today's session it's only about that, connecting agents together to see like the great capabilities that it brings to your solution. So why from single agent to multi-agent? So you think of this, if you have like one agent for your organization doing everything from IT, HR, marketing, finance, with a lot of tools, let's say more than 30, 40 tools, because I think Microsoft recommends if you have more than 30 or 40 tools in your agent, thinks of breaking it down into different agents. Um, and 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 if it would kind of be one agent. If you think like one person, you expect one person to know everything, it's going to be quite difficult. So in terms of accuracy, in terms of the errors, hallucinations, it can be hard like to manage and to maintain. That's why it's like even like if you think of building a team, you build a team of specialized people, each one knowledgeable in its in their domain, and in that way you can get a better output. So you can have like multi agents like being orchestrated, working together for the same output. And it's kind of helps with scalability as well, because you can easily remove one connected agent and add a different one. So one like in Copilot Studio, it has the like the unique concept of child and connected agent. Probably in other uh, platform, you might consider just like a sub agent, just doing a subtask for a particular process rather than being a connected agent. So child agent, like within Copilot Studio, I will show like in the demo later, it lives within the parent. That means if we delete the parent, all the child agents are gone. And one of the things is like the child agents are kind of hidden in a way, so you can't really reuse it across uh, to connect it to a different agent. And the other thing is around they share like the same knowledge sources, the tools in terms of settings as well, especially around authentication. For example, you might want like the whole agents like to be restricted only to people in your organization, or each of the child agent will kind of respect that authentication. The other thing is about publishing as well. So wherever you're publishing, the parent agent, the child agent would be there as well. And for the connected agent, it does provide a little bit more capabilities in terms of each connected agent can have like its own setting. For example, within Copilot Studio, you're able to choose your own LLM model. It could be like from OpenAI with ChatGPT, or even with cloud models from Anthropics. It kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility into designing depending on your use case that you want. Because some of the models are a little bit more expensive in terms of the tokens that it uses, just something like to be aware, but in terms of accuracy, it might be better for your use case. Again, like each of a connected agent, it can have like different authentication, different publishing channels. So they would have like individual agent life cycles. So I can easily delete one connected agent, your parent agents still stay the same. And one other thing to bear in mind, if ever you're connected to another Copilot agent, it needs to be published first before you could connect it. And the other one, which is really powerful, is the cross-platform. So I might have an agent which I built like in Fabric or Microsoft Foundry. You can easily connect to one of those agents using the agent-to-agent protocol. And the other one, which I don't have on the slide, is because it's fairly new. If you use like the new workflow within Copilot Studio, you can connect to your Empress File Copilot agent as well, or what we call it, a decorative agent. Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Rashmi. So Rashmi has already given us an introduction about what a child agent and what is a connected agent is. And the next biggest question is when to use one. So as the image shows, if it is within one team, go with a child agent. And if it is across line of business, then connected agent. So let's take an example. Like maybe a procurement team is doing an agent to create a purchase requisition, check the budget, check the supply. You know, lot of logic needs to be done. But if they are thinking about a single agent, then we'll always recommend to use child agent, each one to do each task. Suppose the procurement team has an agent which has to create a purchase requisition. There is a child agent to do that. And there is a child agent to check the supplier. There's a child agent to check the invoice details. So things like that. So it's a logical grouping within a single team. It's not reused outside, and all the child agents always reside within the parent agent. It is not intended to be reused. So if a procurement team is using the child agents, it lives within that child agent. But think about having a connected agent and when to use them. So if there is a reusable thing that you are building, so let's take the example of this connected agent, like maybe there is an IT support agent which resets the password, check the access and things like that. And suppose you are building a finance or a HR agent, then probably there is no need to rebuild all those logic. You can always reuse this connected agent from another team to your team. So basically it is across the line of business, and it is an independent agent by itself. It will be used by different teams maybe, but in rather than rebuilding everything from scratch, you can always reuse that logic by using a connected agent. As Rashmi said, it will always be a published agent and it will be working on its own, and you can just call it, your orchestrator can simply call it from outside using a connected agent. So that is when to use one. So whether you have to use a child agent or a connected agent. Yeah. And then multi-agent. So I'm sure that most of us might have started with a simple agent that does a simple task. And then, over a few weeks, we load it with a lot of requirements, and then it will become an agent that does everything for us. So if you have gone in such scenarios, comment in the chat that if you have gone into such scenarios of chaos and things like that. So that is where the multi-agent thing comes basically. So it is not to have more complexity, but to manage complexity basically. So imagine you have maybe an employee help desk agent which supports your HR queries, supports your IT queries, supports your finance queries, and you're bombarding it with a lot of topics, prompt things and everything. And in a scenario, you reach to a point where you don't know where to debug, you don't know where the issue is, it will become temperamental and it will have that inconsistent behavior. So that is where this multi-agent comes basically. So instead of having all your logic into a single agent, always it's best to have multiple agents handling multiple things. So you have a HR agent to handle only the HR queries, you have the finance agent to handle only only the finance and IT agent to handle only the IT queries, and they live inside different agents, and you will have a parent orchestration which will handle all these child or connected agents, whichever scenario suits you best you can use. So it is always easy to debug, and it is always easy to test, and safety as well, because your agent that you have used or the scenarios that you have used will only have access to that particular thing only. It doesn't magically give you access to anything else. So, and the governance part, accuracy, maintainability, everything will be easy if you use multiple agents that handles certain scenarios. So each task will be done by a single agent, and you don't have to then bother about all of the logic at a single time. And so suppose if your organization chart has more than one box, it is always recommended that your AI architecture should also have more agents, not a single agent handling everything. You should have a parent agent, and below that tree, multiple agents handling different tasks. So that's what it shows. Next slide, please. Yeah. Yeah, so already we have given you an introduction about what a child agent is. So most of us might who have built chatbots before might have used rigid topics before. You can always create topics, and it's called always quite rigid in that sense. But child agent is a new way of architecting agents. So there's an example that has been shown here, like a submitting claims agent, which has multiple child agents. So each agent is handling only that particular scenario. So car insurance or health insurance, so they have only access to that data sources. They are not, interconnected or anything. They're quite independent and has access to that only. And most of us might have come across the scenario of 8K character limit. So here we can overcome that. And as I said before, there is no need of any rigid topics to be used. The child agents can be called using natural language. In natural language, you can give instructions to call that particular child agent. So, and also your parent agent or your orchestration agent, there is no need for it to be, know everything or super intelligent. It just have to know that which child agent to call, and each child agent should know what task it should do. So it is in that way, it is very natural language processing model. Like you can write in a very natural language, which will show in examples in the coming demos, like how to call a child agent and what instructions you have to give. There is also a parent agent. So that is a new way of architecting, which will keep your parent agent very light. Next slide, please.
All right, so I will go like through our first demo for the day. So I have two particular agents. One which is for handling like insurance claims, as Versha showed in the slide, and I have like different. This is like a fictitious insurance company which provides different type of insurance, and I want like the end users to be able like to query about the insurance information, as well as submitting like any insurance claims. And then on the other hand, I have just to show like the difference between like using topics or child agent. And then I have another one, which is which is the insurance code agent. And in that one, what I'm doing is I'm using like topics. Like for example, I have a topic for car insurance to handle like car insurance code. So if a user asks, they want like a code for car insurance, it will kind of go. I have the same thing for all like the different types of insurance, from where I have like an adaptive card, which is going to ask very specific details related to the insurance codes, which is quite a lot of information. And then depending on the different type of insurance code, it will kind of differ the information that I'm asking. And if you look at here, it's if you use like to Power Automate or Flow, it's kind of similar, where everything is very kind of rigid. Once it's that topic gets triggered, it will always go through the same order in terms of asking for information, and in the background I'll have like some validation and some calculations to be able like to perform to be able like to generate the code of the user. And then if I look, for example, this is a very fictitious calculations, nothing related to a real insurance company. So it's taking all the inputs, but I kind of save them as a global variables, but it doesn't really need to. But I was thinking of trying to do something else. And then in here, I'm doing the calculations and then asking for the user to confirm if everything is correct before actually submitting, creating like the insurance cover um, details like to my database. In that case, it's just a SharePoint library, just to keep it simple. And then here, if I look at one of the particular agent, child agent, how it's being configured, I've kind of tried to do the same process, but everything is through natural language. Like I'm asking, if ever the certain information are missing, to provide the details about the missing information. But obviously, if ever the person has already provided the information, it's just going to skip step 3. And I'm calling a lot of different tools to be able to get the customer details, to get like to find out if the user has any active policy cover, and to check like whatever the claim they're making is valid, yes or no, before proceeding. So everything is kind of natural language. And then you might be thinking why I didn't do the insurance code as a child agent. I did try the the drawback of kind of or limitation of saying is within instructions you can't really set like a variable. You don't have the possibility where you can call a topic, which you can use it as an alternative. That's why I kind of decided just to leave it as insurance as a topic instead of a child agent using the natural language to describe everything it needs to do. So it's just something. It's good to know, like an additional way of that you can think, like to kind of architect your agent if something. And the other one, which both Shaka are mentioning, is around like the parent agent itself. It doesn't really have anything much. Yeah, it's just yeah, it's very very lean, and it's quite helpful not to have like a bulky instructions into your parent agents, only those which are necessary for the orchestration to work. And the other one I just wants to highlight is in terms of knowledge sources. So probably you might have, like in that instance, I have only like 3 documents. Each ones are insurance details for each type, and depending on which child agents get triggered, it's going to use only that particular file as knowledge source. Even I have it in the parent agent, but if you look, it says available only to the car insurance information agent. It's quite a good way. For example, if I had to ask my agent, like, what is the excess on my insurance, but all of those documents might have like information about excess, and what will happen is it might get confused. But if you kind of be able like to target which knowledge sources is going to be used at one point of your flow, it's quite a good way like to use the child agent. Similarly, like with tools as well, you can kind of targeted to probably, okay, for this one, I think all of it is available to the parent agent because I'm reusing all the tools across all the free child agents, but that's something again you could kind of target it to be available to only a limited set. So let's see if I pray enough to the demo god today. And okay, so I have, this is my test session. So this is quite something quite useful in terms of um, just testing your flow. Whether, okay, I think I'll try again and see whether it's working. Come on. Okay, maybe I'll refresh. It's supposed like to ask me more questions when I pick the correct category. If not, I will show it like on the sessions which I've already kind of done before. Okay, so now it looks a bit better. So I will just provide the email address for the particular user who wants to submit the insurance claim. And then I'm going to say what the user wants to make a claim for. So MOT in UK is similar to health check for a person, but MOT is more applicable for car. So it's a health check for a car. But normally insurance policies don't cover MOT. So we'll see how it does. So what it done in the background, we can see that it triggered the correct child agent in the very correct child agent. It called like the correct tools that I want to get the customer details and to get any policy cover. And then based, it kind of search the knowledge sources which I provided, and then it kind of internally, this is not something I've put in the chat, but it's kind of something worked out what correct questions it need to find out the answer for. So in that case, as kind of expected, it says like MOT is not covered. So I'm just going to say like car repairs definitely is covered by insurance policy. So I say I want like, so this is something that it kind of approved, but I can submit an insurance claim for insurance repair. It's asking me for a little bit more details. So I'll just give it a bit more details, what happened. And then in the background, what it does, it will kind of process the whole, based on the information provided, create like the insurance claim information form for me, and then it will submit it to a SharePoint library for me. So that's how it can work. And then I can do a similar thing like for dental insurance claim or the travel insurance claim. So that's kind of the demo like for the child agent. Okay, so this one I had a little video just in case if it doesn't work, the demo doesn't work live. All right, so we've kind of seen like the child agents within the claims and code agents which I had, and within that parent agents I had like the child agent and as well as like the independent insurance code agent. You might be thinking why I decided to do it this way, because for someone requesting an insurance code, it could be like a new customer, you don't have the customer details and you want it to still be anonymous. So I would probably publish it on the website. So you will have like a different authentication mechanism because it's quite low key. And for someone to be able to submit an insurance claim, the idea is it will have to be only for authenticated users. So it will be like a different authentication mechanism. So you'll need to have like a variety reasons why you're going for a child agent versus a connected agent. The reason for me is only that. And then if you look at the layout, you say like, okay, I have like two orchestrator or parent agent when probably I could have only one. One of the limitation I've noticed is about the maximum depth level is 2. So if you have an agent which is already connected to another connected agent, you can't have that parent agent, you can't connect it to with another agent is like the maximum depth of 2, and that's how I end up like having like 2 different kind of parent agents, but both of them use like the code agent as common, and I have like another one which is like a reports agent, which is more like for the internal, like the staff, the administrators, whoever is processing the claims insurance, like to use. Again, this is not representative of a full insurance claim process. It's just like just to show some of the ideas around using child versus connected agents. And then, yeah, so I'm gonna show you like, okay, I've called it like hub and spoke because none of those agents are kind of connected. They are kind of very independent in the way, in terms like, depending on the query of the user, it will kind of go and trigger the correct agents to process the query. Okay, so here I have like the second, like the parent agents, where I have the 2 connected agents. One is the insurance code and one is the insurance admin. So let's say, okay, so let's say I want the car insurance. I want insurance code for car insurance. Let's see if it's thinking. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, probably it needs to wake up again. Yeah, I'll just refresh it again and we'll try and see if all right. I'm again on my test panel and come on. I'd like an insurance code, and it's going to ask me the type of insurance that I want a code against, and then I say car insurance, and then based on the topic which I've shown earlier, it got triggered. I say annual mileage, let's say 10,000, vehicle value 3,000, 1.2, and genital. I could put anything in address. I don't have any validation on those. Claims in the past 5 years, I say 5. I know that's going to increase my insurance code. And then I say I want like in excess of 300. And then it's going to use like the fictitious calculations I had in the topic. So it's telling me my annual premiums, how much it's going to cost me in terms of pound sterling. I'm based in the UK, so I'm using pounds. And then and then again, it's checking with the user whether they want like to progress. And then if a user say yes, the user can enter their personal details. I'm very uncreative, just using test, and put everything. And phone number, I'll just put something, because insurance code possibly, if it's for a new user, it's going to ask like for personal information. And then once that's done, it's again what it done in the background. It created the insurance policy, the insurance policy cover, and uploaded into my SharePoint library. Obviously, you could use like a different platform for saving your data. So that was it. And then the other one, if I can do is just showcasing, like if I have like a different intent, let's say generate a report of claims for the last 6 months. Again, that was meant to be used only by the administrators, but eh, but it's just like just to show like as a demo, like based on the intent of a query, it kind of direct to the correct connected agent. In that case, it was the insurance admin agent. Um, just on the side because it's something I've been playing with. I think only yesterday because I got really excited, like to see within Copilot Studio you have the options to create like a workflow. I know we do have a lot of different terminologies, but that's like the layout. If ever you've used Foundry, it has like a similar canvas where you add different nodes and you can kind of build like a multi-agent orchestration. So one of the things that I want to show, because I don't have it on the slide, because only yesterday I was kind of started playing, is the ability of having inline agent within workflows. And then you can define its own instruction, its own toolings, and then you can test them individually as well. So if I do test, I couldn't get it to work on the whole, like all these inline agents within the workflow, but I think it's very new. But for the another time, if I'm going through the same topic, then definitely I will I can showcase or I can even write a blog post on it. So in that particular scenario is that made for a triage. I just gave the input like account logging and have like the inline agent within the workflow with its own instructions. I'm telling like to calculate like the effort required for it. And then it came out with a response like 1 to 2 hours and with a reasoning. And I kind of done the same thing, like determining which teams it needs to route to and calculating the severity, but as a whole, it doesn't work yet. Um, yeah, and over to you, Versha.
Thanks, Rashmi. I've started
Mhm.
sharing, so hope it will come soon. It's taking a lot. Yeah, I hope it has loaded now.
It
Yeah,
takes a
it
couple of
should.
seconds.
Yeah, it's all good now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Mhm.
So let's see some examples of how to deal with this child agents. As Rashmi has shown some, so let's check some architectural patterns now, how we can call this child agents, whether it's sequential or parallel, things like that. So this is an example of a child agent scenario where, so suppose the scenario is like I'm a consultant by myself, so I'll have hundreds of nodes like workshop nodes or requirement handling nodes, everything. So suppose they are in a OneDrive or SharePoint. I want a few agent. I want to generate a BRD, business requirement agent, which will call 3 sub-child agents and will generate a PDF of my requirements document, basically. So this example is a pattern of a sequential. So sequentially, you will call one after the other agent, while the researcher agent will its only task is to go and read all the documents. The summarizer will summarize it, and the synthesizer agent will call a flow, which is a PDF generation, and it will generate a PDF for me. So let me show a live demo. I'm also praying to demo codes now. So my thing is, I'll just say generate BRD. So you can see here, it called my researcher agent, which will search all the knowledge sources, and all my knowledge sources are available in this SharePoint. You can see that requirements, stakeholder interviews, all the workshops notes, everything I have put in this SharePoint. You can put it any backend data source. So it called the researcher first, and then it called the summarizer. So it's in a sequential order it is calling. And then it will call the BRD generator, which is again a child agent, which called a PDF generator flow, which will give me the details in a PDF, basically. So you can see the previous trial runs, which I have done. It's already here, and this is the current one that is running. So meanwhile, I think somebody was asking how to show the settings, and also this is how you add agent. You can add an agent here. You can add as a child agent or a connected agent, but if you want to add a connected agent, then it should be published outside, then only it will be available as a connected agent. But all these three are child agents which lives within this parent agent. And in this overview, you can give basically in the natural language, you can tell that call this agent first, call second agent, and call the third agent. You don't have to do any other AI things or anything here. In quite natural language, you can say, you can instruct your parent main agent to basically call all these child agents here. And these are my child agents here. So it's taking a lot of time, but I have already run this previous ones here. And this is how you will see the PDF, which I'll show you now. So it's loading, it's not loading properly. So yeah, so this is the business requirement document. It's not very fancy thing, but it just gives me a summary of everything. It gives me business objective, business problems, pain points, and all those things. So business requirements, everything in a single document. So that is what it does. It's still processing. It's just not completed yet. But this is what it does basically. So basically give the instructions in the, yeah, it didn't work. So demo gods are not with me today, but you can see that it worked the previous two times. So this is how it is actually. So yeah, that is one example. So let me go back to my PPT. Yeah, so that is the demo I showed. And the next one. So next one is basically, now we saw a sequential flow of child agents. So next we will saw a parallel flow. We'll see a parallel flow basically. So this is an invoice processing agent. So you have a parent invoice orchestration parent agent, wherein you will feed your invoice. It will extract all the invoice details and call a PO validation, purchase order validation agent, and event validation agent in parallel. So that is a catch here. It is calling it parallel. And before we saw an example where it called in sequential order. And if both are matching, it will send an email to the user. And if any one of it fails, basically, it creates the invoice there. And this is again a child agent. So this is a combination of basically child agents, child agent and connected agent together, where the connected agents will be called in a parallel way. So let me show another example. So this is, I have already run it. So this is at the invoice. I just give the invoice and it will call the supply validation agent and PO validation agent in parallel, and it will extract all the invoice details. And it will, once it calls the supply validation agent and PO validation agent, it goes and checks whether they both are valid. If it is valid, then it will send an email to the user. So again, in this, if I go to my agents, I can see that I have used two connected agents. So again, a connected agent which is living outside this, and I have used it inside. I have reused that particular capabilities without developing it from the scratch. So two connected agent and one child agent I have used here. And if I go to the overview, I can see that the instructions, all the instructions I have given, quite natural language instructions. And you can see here that when you receive a prompt, I have not used any tools or any Power Automate workflows, anything, nothing I have used. I have just instructed it to extract all the key details, and it extracts all the key details nicely. And this is where the AI plays the very important part. And then I have asked it to call my supplier agent and PO validation agent. Again, I have used the supply validation agent properly. I have inbuilt given it, but the PO validation, I have just mentioned the name, but this Copilot Studio agents are smart enough to understand or identify it by mere name. So you can either use it merely calling its name, it understands which to call, or you can give it by giving a backslash and give it properly here. So that is it. And if I go to my tools, you can see that I have used a prompt to call everything, and also and add a new row selection connector, which is when if it is not matching, then it will call this connector and will create a record in the backend database tables. So there are no topics or anything, no topics or anything being used here. Only the agents are being used in this particular scenario. I'll go back to my PPT now. These are the demos which I'm not showing because I have already shown that demo. So just skipping that. Yeah, I'm coming to this. Okay, so now that we have seen this a child agent and connected agent scenarios, just the decision frameworks, like when to split it into agents or when to use a connected agent. So it's depicted in this picture, like if the responsibilities are growing. So for example, like you are creating a procurement agent, but it has multiple responsibilities growing, like creating purchase requisition, maybe validating an invoice, maybe validating a supplier, validating a purchase order, maybe even initiating a payment request to your supplier, or even doing a payment. So maybe a full P2P scenario, procurement to pay scenario. Then if the responsibilities are growing, it's always recommended that split it into multiple agents, each agent handling a simple scenario. In that way, it is easy to maintain, easy to manage, and it is scalable as well. And when to use a connected agent. So if the reusable capabilities are, as I said before, the PO validation agent or a supply validation agent, maybe it is used by a supplier team or a procurement team, but it can also be used in a sales team or an invoice processing team. So if the responsibilities can be reused, then always make sure create as a connected agent, so your connected agent can be used by other teams without much hassle. And not everything requires an agent. If you are doing some manual mundane task and you want to automate it, like it is quite deterministic and repeatable, there is no need of any AI logic or orchestration or things like that, then simply automate it. There's, not everything requires an agent. Only if an agent is required, then only use an agent. If it is quite a manual mundane task that you want to automate, then always use any automation tools rather than using it as an agent. Now, security and governance. So basically, all the security and governance are built in every layer of the Copilot Studio agents. It's not something that is being added later. So it is all the enterprise grade level security, your Entra, your SSO, everything is being pre-built. Of course, it is part of your Power Platform, and that thus there is nothing comes after you build it. It's all inbuilt in each and every layer, basically. And data loss prevention policies, as I mentioned, as it's part of Power Platform, all the data loss prevention policies that you define will be applicable here as well. You can define your connectors as business or non-business, or you can make sure that your data doesn't flow outside, so you can restrict those connectors, block those connectors. All those things can be done. And a very important thing is agent permission. So you might be wondering, since we are using a parent agent and a lot of connected agent, whether, connected agent A's permission will be inherited by a connected agent B. No, it will not happen like that. They are independent agents. They will work on the least privilege. Suppose I am using a parent agent which has a connected agent which has access to a procurement table, but I, as a user, if I don't have access to that table, then the Copilot agent is not going to magically give you any access. It will only follow, it will only inherit the accesses that you have as a user. So nothing comes magically. Copilot cannot give you any particular access or anything. It's already been, whatever is in build, whatever is your access, it follows that, it respects that. So it always follows that least privilege method. And audit and monitoring, it's always available in your purview, in your compliance center, and even the Copilot itself has analytics, like how many times it's being used, which kind of agents are being used the most, what topics are being used the most, and all those kind of audit and monitoring are also available. So there were some questions regarding the governance as well in the chat, it seems. So it's already pre-built and it's inbuilt in every layer. It is not something that you add later. So whatever is your access, it follows that, basically. Yeah, over to you, Rashmi.
Yes. So in terms of the design principles, like for multi-agents like to work, one of the main criteria is around like the instructions. It's still very important. Or it could be like configurations, how you kind of configure, like for example, like even if you don't have like the instructions into your parent agent, depending on the description and the name of the connected or the child agents you provide, that's enough like for the underneath like orchestrated to kind of direct the query or the intent towards that particular agent to do its actions. So that's why it's very important to have like clear descriptions or name, or if not, even like with instructions, you can do quite a lot in terms like Versha showed, like how like to do the sequential flow of agents, just using instructions, like in which order each one get triggered. That's something I like to really bear in mind. And then in terms of accuracy, you might want like your agents to respond like with your company knowledge, and you want to provide it with your own knowledge sources, what we call like the retrieval augmented generation. And then again, just for the sake of transparency, it's good like to always make sure like you have citations displayed at each of the response where it got the information. In terms of deterministic, we've seen like a few ways, like using topics and agent flows, because sometimes you might want, like for example, what I showed, like calculating the insurance code, you might want to have something a little bit more deterministic, and you might still want to go down the route of a topic instead of a child agent. Something like just to bear in mind, and not to forget human in the loop is very important, because we want the future is people with AI. So as each step, we want to provide like steps to allow people like to be able to confirm whether the information is correct, or even have escalations. For example, if someone is submitting a large claim, it needs to be escalated to someone else. And in terms of observability, testing is key. So untested agent is unfinished, and it would be kind of liable. So it's important like to test, like we've shared, like using the test panel. But from an admin perspective, you could use like the agent 365 from Admin Center or the log purview. All of them are quite good. Um, yes, and for the last slide, which you have, is just some around the trade-offs. Um, are using like multi-agents. One of the thing is it has an additional layer before it can identify the correct child agent or connected agents it needs to. So you might see it might take a little bit longer to respond. The other thing is depending, it's I would say like don't misuse connected agent, make a conscious decisions when it has to be a child agent versus a connected agents based on the decision framework we gave earlier. Because otherwise it would mean like you might end up with agent sprawl, loosely connected agents, which will means like more governance. And the other one is like always think security by design, have it baked in. And the other one, which we've noticed, is around the citations, which may or may not always render. And the other one is, already mentioned, is when you use child agent, you can't really set like variables in instructions. So that's something you might want to think whenever you're passing context across to different agents. And the reuse limits in terms of having, you can't use a connected, you can't use an agent which is already connected to another agent across to in other places. And yeah, and thank you very much. And we do, okay, so some of the key takeaways. Yeah, hopefully in this, you get the idea like why multi-agents are better than a single agent in terms of scalability, and orchestration is key in terms how like in terms of the flow of the agents, what you want to do. But again, it depends on your use case, which one you might, which module you might want to go. Again, security by design, always think security first before building the agents, and not leave it as a second thought, because you don't want to end up in the news for the wrong reasons. And always start small and then scale smart. Yeah, and thank you very much. And we are happy to take any questions.
Perfect. Thanks for the amazing presentation and demos. So we'll now get into the questions part. Feel free to ask any questions you want into the chat. So the first question is, what does governance look like to keep on top of all these child connected agents?
So if it's a child agent, the governance will be like whatever you put at the parent agent. So it's a little bit easier in terms of governing like the child agent, because it's a bit hidden. While connected agent, each one, the governance will be kind of separate for each. And that's something you might kind of bear in mind, like in terms of the data access each agent has, in terms of authentication, and everything. Yeah.
Perfect. And the next question is, are flows created within Copilot Studio in this case?
Yes, most of the flows are created within the Copilot Studio. Yeah.
Perfect. And the next question is, can you show the settings to update the agent relationships?
Okay, so for the agent relationships, it all kind of depends. Like for example, Versha showed like within instructions, she kind of changed like one agent with another.
Yeah.
And another one, like for example, for my scenario hub and spoke, it was mainly like using the description and the name, and then based on that, it kind of get triggered. So it kind of depends how you want. And then if you use like something like agent flow, which is more like a Power Automate flow, then you have like the visual, like to say like the proper like relationship, like in a diagram. Like I've shown like one, like the workflow, the new workflow, like the visual UI. But in Copilot Studio, you'll have like to define the relationship, like using different methods.
Perfect. And next question is, how do you debug failures in a multi-agent workflow? How do you identify which agent caused an error?
Again, like for our scenario, we've been mainly relying on the test panel. So, and then seeing based on each intent or query, see like the activity map, how it's doing, and then if there's like any bottleneck, we can easily identify it using the activity map.
Perfect. Next question is, how are multi-agent workflows regarding Copilot credits? Every trigger 2 credits and every step 2 credits?
I didn't really think in terms of cost, but I will think like, because it will be like kind of similar to using like the Gen AI credits, which maybe 5 credits or something, like when each Gen AI actions gets triggered. And then like triggering that agent probably will be like one, whatever is will be consumed by one Gen AI action credit, the number of credits it needs to, and then within it, if you have any Gen AI actions and or anything, if it's a classic, then the costs will kind of compound, add up, depending how you kind of design everything.
Perfect. So the next question is, what are the recommended architectural patterns? Hub and spoke, hierarchical, peer-to-peer for multi-agent systems. What patterns work best for document to extraction to validation to reporting pipelines?
Varsha, do you want to talk? Because you had one scenario on that one.
Yeah, it's always to have, your architecture patterns in place. And sometimes you want to call it a sequential. For example, the example I showed, like BRD generation, only if you do the research, do the synthesizing, and then summarize it, then only you can produce the results. If you call everything together, because one agent's output is the input for the other agent, so you have to think about think about your problem and what solution you need, whether your agents inside is taking the output of an agent before, then it should be sequential. Or if your agent's outputs are going to your parent agent, then it can be called as parallel. So yeah, it is very important to have the architecture patterns.
Perfect. So what's the best way to handle agent-to-agent communication? Hands-off versus shared context. How do you prevent agent overlap or conflicting actions?
Yes, so for this one, like within Copilot Studio, the only options that it provides is like parsing the conversation history. So based on how the conversation thread started and whichever agent are called before, after, it will have like the knowledge of everything which happened before. So that's one other way. And the other way probably is like the use of global variables. If yeah, one of the limitation I found is like within age within the child agent, you can't really use the instructions like to set like global variables, but probably for instructions you can kind of say it like whatever information the user provide, try to extract like the information it needs so that it can pass that to the other agents that needs the previous answers. So yes, it's kind of but that's something, yeah, definitely I'll be looking into a little bit more, how to make it a little bit more robust, especially agent overlap. I would say conflicting actions again. That's why probably look at, make sure you define like the description and the name of your agent to make sure there's no like conflicting, they are not conflicting and not similar, because otherwise the orchestrator will have hard time to determine which ones to trigger at which point.
Perfect. Next question is, how is context shared or persisted across multiple agents? How do you avoid context explosion or token inefficiency?
Again, that will be kind of link for the context for now is the conversation thread that is being passed, and each of the agent knows what has been said before. Yeah, again, in terms of token inefficiency, and I would say it all depends like on your design to make sure, like for example, like if you have like a parent agent which doesn't have a lot of instructions, that will help minimize the use of token. And then once your child agents get triggered, you want to ensure like not to overload it with too many tools. Just have like only those tools required for your process.
Perfect. The next question is, how does each user running the agent need to have a security role in the Power Platform environment that the agent is built in?
It depends on what the agent is doing, basically. So if you have published your agent, your teams, and it is doing only a web search, then you don't need to have any security role. But if it is accessing something from your data was table, then you need to have a role actually to access the data. So yeah, it depends on what kind of agents you're building.
Perfect. Next question is, can we leverage reusable skills across agents?
I think it's not there yet, but that's something definitely we'll have to keep an eye on the announcement by Microsoft. Probably like build is within 3 weeks. Hoping to hear something around that.
Perfect. I think that's all the time we have for today. So on behalf of the ESPC community, we'd like to extend a big thank you to you again, Rashmi and Vasha, for taking time out today at Carrot's webinar. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
having us. It's been
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Amazing. Yes,
Yeah.
amazing webinar. Thanks so much. And you'll get a recording after this webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.